Guys, welcome back to another episode of A2 the show. Today we have Dr. Joy Kong, who is a UCLA-trained triple board certified physician and a leader in regenerative and integrative medicine, serving as founder, CEO, and president of Chara Health USA in Los Angeles, where she specializes in stem cell, peptide, ketamine, and other advanced therapies. She founded the American Academy of Integrative Cell Therapy to train physicians, uh, is a published scientific author, and led the stem cell clinical study on traumatic brain injury. Dr. Kong has developed innovative regenerative medicine products for the US and global markets and has received major honors, including Top Doctor of the Year in Stem Cell Therapy and Stem Cell Doctor of the Decade in 2021. I mean, Doctor, just reading that is mind-blowing of how many achievements you've attained. And also, personally, when I was doing my research on you, I noticed how like empowering you are as a to other women in STEM uh, in the STEM field as well. I don't know if you saw the wordplay there, but anyway, we move on. Um,
I've
maybe we can
empowered a lot
start.
of doctors for sure, and a
Yes,
lot of patients. I mean, it's an empowering field of medicine. Yeah.
I mean, maybe you can start off with telling us how you got into this field and also what put you down this road.
Yeah. So, um, I've always wanted to respect the body that I've been given,
Hmm.
that this is a gift, is my responsibility to take care of it. So, and I
Hmm.
want to help other people to take care of it. That's why I went into medicine because I felt that there's a part of me that there's a healer inside. And of course, I want to practice what I preach because I really, I think one thing is I don't want to be dumb. If I treat my body
Yeah.
badly and then I get sick later on, not do well, I just feel really dumb. So I just want to feel smart, like I'm doing the right things.
Hmm.
I know what to do. I know how to take care of myself. But medical school was not teaching me the right tools. I went to UCLA, which is supposed to be more progressive because we're on the West Coast, and but we're not. So I got half an hour of nutrition, and I didn't really know how to make my health better. I know what tests to run and how to diagnose a person when things go wrong, but there's almost nothing taught to me to help me to do just a little better because God knows none of us is optimal. We all
Hmm.
have things that we can improve on, but medicine, the way it was taught, did not give me any tools to enhance people's health. And then I came from a tradition that uses a form of medicine that look at the body as a very much complex and integrated whole, and that's Chinese medicine. So I grew
Hmm.
up in China for the first 20 years of my life, and the philosophy is that all the organs are connected and they all talk to each other, and there are energy channels that run through them. So when you damage one organ, you could hurt the other organ. So it's a whole different way of looking at the human body. And there are a lot of things you can do before you get sick because everybody can have adjustments, right? Can have optimization. You can make your chi a little stronger. You
Hmm.
can take out the dampness a little bit more. You can calm the fire a little bit more, so to get you more balanced. So that form of medicine to balance the body to an optimal state is not quite here in the US, at least not how I was taught. There is a new branch of medicine. There are many names to it. It could be called integrative medicine or holistic medicine, alternative medicine, or anti-aging medicine, functional medicine. They're all about the same things, which is looking at the body as a complex whole that everything can affect it. Every vitamin can affect how your body function. Whether or not you exercise can affect it. Whether or not you're getting sunlight can affect it, right? So everything needs to be taken into account. So then, because I felt there was a lack of tools for me to optimize my patients, I was trained as a psychiatrist after medical school,
Oh, wow.
and I worked as a psychiatrist for 11 years. And even though I helped a lot of people, but I felt my tools were dulled. I didn't have the best tools. So, and I didn't have the best tools for myself because we're all declining. I challenge any human being who's saying that he's not on the way of decline, right? None of us is going to escape the final route unless something major happened in science, which is a distinct possibility, but not until this point. So if we're all declining and we don't know what to do, that's a problem. So I wanted to figure out how I could enhance myself and learning those skills and translating that into how I can help my patients better. So that was what got me into just self-learning. Because since if I just go to conferences, no, they're not going to teach me anything. Because who is putting up the conferences, right? The pharma. So, and who controls the medical education? Pharma. So if you want to stay in your traditional route, your traditional bubble, then you're never going to learn what else there is, and it's a vast array of possibilities of enhancing the body. You just won't know because it doesn't fit into the narrative. So then I had to learn on my own. I went to different even get-togethers for doctors who are of the more open mind, or conferences that teach doctors how to evaluate and what other factors can affect health. So that's really my road into it, and it's a long, roundabout way of talking about how I got to this point, but really is an evolution. Although when I went to medical school, I remember about the first day, almost the first day in medical school, running into this very smart kid who was studying to become an MD and PhD at the same time. And I happened to mention acupuncture. And he
Mm.
said, "Oh, there's no evidence that acupuncture works." I said, "Are you serious?" Okay, first of all, yeah, there are thousands of years of tradition, but there are a lot of research on acupuncture, like reams and reams of journals published on what has been studied. So just because you don't read those journals doesn't mean that they don't exist. And he said, "Well, okay, fine, but we don't know how it works, so it can't be valid. We don't even know how it works." And then I take pharmacology class. You won't believe how many drugs. The bottom line is that the mechanism unknown, right? The
No
drug
one
mechanism,
knows.
we don't know, but
Yeah.
somehow that's accepted. Why is that
Mm-hmm.
okay? Because someone studied it, showed some data, and that's it. But what happened to acupuncture? What happened to all these other forms of medicine? So it's total hypocrisy. Um, so anyhow, so that's a journey. And not many people have the journey. I mean, there are very few people who grew up in China who actually went to traditional medical school in the US and really got a taste of this kind of prejudice. Yeah, so that's kind of my journey. But integrative medicine is more open to all forms of medicine, including stem cell therapy. So if you
Mm-hmm.
want to know which doctors are going to embrace these kind of new therapies, then you look into the doctors who are practicing integrative type of medicine. So stem cell therapy is more accepted, and that's when I saw what it can do, and then I'm hooked. If you just see what it did for people, and this is why it's gotten so popular. It's not because some practitioners want to make money and is touting this. It's because people want it. People are dragging the doctors into it. Literally, I have doctors coming to me saying, "Dr. Kong, I've got 4 people lined up. They all want stem cells. I don't know how to do it. Can you teach me, please?" And they all want it. So people want it because it works. Yeah.
Wow. I wish you were my doctor. I wish my doctor was more like you. Honestly, like I wish we all had that transparency when it comes to our health, and a doctor that's willing to share information and give you multiple different approaches and understand that every human being's different, and you want to approach health in a way that's unique to you
Yeah,
as
you
a
got to have
person.
the intellectual curiosity, and also the integrity, the integrity of the heart, right? Why did you come to medicine? If it's to really help people, to get them better, and if you
Hmm.
saw a patient that got some form of therapy and got better, your first response was, "Oh my goodness, what have I been missing? I need to understand how this works." But I've seen it over and over and over again when I help a patient get better and they go back to their doctor saying, I did this, and look, all my levels, all my labs are recovered. I'm doing really well. And the doctor's like, "Oh, Oh, okay, all right. And they don't understand why it works, but that's the end of the story. They won't even ask more. So
Wow.
that's a sad state of a lot of doctors.
Mm-hmm.
They're so locked into what they're doing that they've lost the zest for knowledge. They've lost the reason why they came to medicine. Yeah.
Wow. And it seems too like a lot of just patients or just regular people have also given up on their health. I hear a lot of people say that, oh, I don't want to, I don't want to live till 100 something. I don't want
Yeah.
to
Oh,
get so
well, do you
old.
want to
I'd
get sick?
rather.
Would you like to get sick? And that's the other question, right? Do you want to spend your last 10 years in really horrible shape? Or do what do you do? You could get sick very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
This is a continuum. So yes, I don't care. I don't, I want to have a good life, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I did stem cell therapy. I want to be vibrant and be healthy, feel good when I'm here. So it's really about not getting sick and function at a high state. So yeah, longevity, everybody has a different philosophy. That's fine. But yeah,
And
I
what do
understand.
you mean by like functioning at a high state? Can you, as someone who's an expert on physical health and mental health, like how do those two things
Well,
connect, in your opinion?
okay. So I'm 54 years old. I don't have any aches and pains.
Wow.
I go travel around the world. I don't have any jet lag. I pop into a different country. I just went to Asia. I just hit the ground and I keep on running. Let's live our day. Right? The sun is
Mm-hmm.
out. Let's do it. And then I don't get tired until night. And when it's been dark for a while. I think my melatonin kicks in. Is like, no, okay, now I feel okay. I'm getting tired, so let me go to sleep. I wake up in the morning, ready to go. So that kind of vitality, right? And being able to do things, function at a high level. I run, 5 businesses. So, the energy level, the ability to carry things out, work out. Do you have physical stamina? Um, and yeah, so energy, how you feel, um, just physical wellness. I don't get sick. I mean,
I think it's also the look as well, because you don't look 54 at all. I was gonna say maybe in the 30s maximum,
thank you.
if anything.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to
So,
show people there's you can actually reverse your age on a cellular
mhm,
level. That's what I'm trying to do for my patients, that we are at that point. That is actually a possibility. And we have never been there in the history of mankind. We haven't been able to do much with aging. Yeah, some yogis maybe, they do look younger than they are. They've done a lot, to help their body. That takes a tremendous amount of discipline. But for on a mass level, um, every population, all the kings and queens, they age, right? 30s, 40s, 50. You know what each decade a person looks like. But now we don't have to be like that. We can, be 60 and still look 30. That's a possibility. So I want to start to show people that's possible. Use your imagination. Like, be excited about science. So that's yeah. That's a new,
so is
I
it
call this whole way of doing medicine the new medicine, period. This is new medicine. The other ones are old. Not that there's nothing good in it. The acute care and surgeries are amazing. That's making a huge difference in people's lives. But chronic illnesses, yeah, really, really need to learn how complex the body is.
so you've mentioned also Eastern medicine or alternative medicine. Is there any type of connection between those medicines and stem cell, or are they not related at all?
Um, I actually consider stem cell therapy one of the most holistic forms of medicine because
Mm-hmm.
of how the cells work. The
Hmm.
cells are nothing but a reservoir of information and a highly, highly
Right.
intelligent entity. So think of all of us. We were once a single stem cell. So from
Yeah.
that microscopic cell came us, right? That, if you don't think that's a miracle,
Mm-hmm.
show me a miracle. So within that cell is the DNA. And DNA is the most energy dense substance in the universe. So what is in that substance? What does it contain? I think is a carrier of information, of incredibly powerful, dense information. So when we can tap into that information, then we're promoting repair on a very, very broad scale. And these signals, just think about, we have 300,000 different kinds of peptides floating through our body. 300,000.
Okay, what is a peptide? Slow down a bit. What is that? I've
Peptide
heard
is
about it, but I don't
amino
know what that
acid
is.
sequence that carries a particular information with a particular physiological function. So it performs a function in the body. So if you can imagine, there are 300,000 different kinds of peptides in the body. We are a walking universe of signals. So stem cells will be the origin of these signals, because peptides, who makes peptides? The cells. So cells have the information to make these peptides. So if you can imagine, I put these cells in the body and they can produce all this web, this massive web of information. And that's what we're using. So back to your question about Chinese medicine.
Hmm.
Um, Chinese medicine looks at the body as a web. Actually, there's a really good book called The Web with No Weaver. So we don't know who wove this web, but the web is there. The web is this
Mhm.
complex relationships. And Chinese medicine is able to zoom out of, so instead of going down the granular level, looking at the cells and chemicals and receptors, is zooming out, looking at how these organs are interacting with each other, how trends in the environment can interact with your body. So it's a like a system approach. So think of building, like if you think of artificial intelligence, the intelligence level from very low information bits all the way up to system approach, to greater philosophy that comes out of these information, different layers of information. And that's what the Chinese medicine is doing, is zooming out. So stem cell therapy is a way of zooming out, because I let the cells do what it does. What I can see is systemically is doing massive repair, because it is doing its own thing. It creates its own system. So I don't need to go down there and do the granular receptor activation like what I've done with psychiatry for 11 years. I can zoom out and give the cells, which produce probably hundreds and thousands of different signals. And then I let them figure it out, because we've already figured it out, right? The cells have figured out how to make a human. So now I'm going to let the cells do its thing. So it is a zooming out of allowing the system to basically figure out how to repair the body. So I think that in that sense, it's similar, because there's a system approach. It's very holistic. It's targeting a lot of things
Mhm.
all at once. If you look at Chinese medicine, they're going to give you herbs. They're
Hmm.
giving you 20, 30 different things in this nasty tasting concoction of
Hmm.
herbs, or it can be herbs or animal parts. And they, each one probably contains, hundreds of different molecules, different types of molecules, and they all come
Mhm.
together to form a symphony. So in that sense, when I give cells, the cells produce all these signals and they all come together producing that symphony. So the symphonic approach is the similarity. And also, um, Chinese medicine, I think, helps learn to activate the body's own intelligence. If you are looking at something like acupuncture, by putting needles in particular strategic locations, it unblocks certain energy flow. So now the energy flows through the body. It's going to allow the body to actually recover its balance, or its ability to tap into its own intelligence. If it's blocked, then it can't do what it knows how to do. It's the same thing with stem cell therapy. When you give the body the signal, all the blockages, that a lot of it come from inflammation, that were just, the body was not moving. Why do people have chronic knee pain? Your body should have fixed it, but why is it still there? Because it's blocked. And now I can give you a massive amount of information from stem cells that blast away that blockage. Now your body hears the signal. Now its own ability to regenerate is activated. So that's the similarity. So I always say stem cell therapy is almost a form of energy therapy. So I consider that I'm in a sense a healer. I'm injecting intelligence into people. And that's why it's so cool. It's so
You're a
fun.
doctor. I mean,
I'm a
that's what you're supposed to
doctor,
do.
but
So
we're going metaphysical now. Physics and medicine are
yeah.
merging, and people just don't know it. That's why I think the future of medicine is energy medicine. Yeah, but people just just come on, get on with the new way of doing things. So if you don't get on, then you just be left behind. That's
Yeah,
fine too.
exactly.
But
So, what is the difference between peptide therapy and stem cell therapy in terms of like the process of doing it?
yeah, so if you think of peptides, they
Hmm.
are made by cells, right? So what do cells do? Cells have DNA and cells can respond to the environment. The cells, when it gets into the human body, has ability to travel and find where it's needed. So it can find the place where it needs help, and then it can secrete everything, including peptides.
Hmm.
Whatever peptides that may be needed, what kind of whatever growth factors or exosomes is one way that cells communicate with each other. Within the exosomes are all kinds of good stuff, including peptides and growth factors and cytokines and microRNA and lipids and nucleic acids. So it has a whole bunch of stuff. So peptide is one form of tool that
Mm.
that cells have. So, but the peptides is really exciting because when I give people cells, the cells will go to a location and it's going to try to do, perform reparative work, regeneration. Um, but your body has, so many organs and it's all over the place. And there may be a lot of places that need help and it may not help you exactly where you want help. And the peptides can be really, really targeted because let's say somebody has gut issues and I can give the person BPC 157. I know that we're going to give some extra help for the gut. The cells, I'm not going to be able to control. If you also have arthritis and then you also have some brain issues, the cells may be everywhere. So if you're not getting enough cells, then you got small batches of cells doing a little bit here, a little bit there. So the results may not be exactly what you want. So how do you direct the cells? So in our clinic, we do use laser to help focus
Mm.
the cells. Actually, I have the laser in my hand.
Oh
I
wow.
love laser. Look at this. Yeah, I love
Wow.
I'm activating. Yeah, so I have the green laser, the red laser. Yeah, so even when I'm talking, sometimes I travel with this, right? I take it with me. Why not? If there are different settings can help you fight infection and all kinds of stuff, fight stress. So we can use laser. Let's say I want to target a person, let's say thyroid, right? And then I can just focus the laser on that organ. And when cells travel and then the laser touch upon them, they have a tendency to adhere to the tissue. So it activates the adhesion molecules. So now I can
Mm.
allow the cells to target different organs. But that's one way. But peptides, I can also target different organs. So there are peptides for almost for everything. So I can give people peptides for brain regeneration, peptides for immunity, right? Change the immune balance. I can give people something for improved sleep, for muscle growth, for fat loss, for
Wow.
even skin regeneration, right? So I can target different organs. So that's the beauty of but then it's a single molecule, right? There's only so much can be done, even though it can be amazing, but it cannot compare to the intelligence of the cells. You cannot compare. Yeah. But it's powerful. So I use that
Hmm.
every day in my clinic with everybody. Yeah.
Wow. Let me ask you this: how come there's so much information out there, but people aren't acting on the information? Like everyone can at the Google know all this information or watch this podcast and learn about this information, but then why aren't people taking the steps to making themselves healthier and following the steps you're talking about?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So there are a few roadblocks, and one I hear commonly is the cost.
Mm.
So The cost, for example, at our clinic, if you want to do an IV stem cell treatment, generally is cost between $8,500 to $18,000, somewhere there. If you just do an IV, of course, if you add all kinds of things, you also want to grow your hair, we have, inject hair. If you also want to, facial rejuvenation, if you want to enhance your sexual function, we can inject into sexual organ. If you want joint injection, we add. So if you add more, the more you add, the more expensive. If you just do simple IV infusion, which is very powerful, and then I can give you stories after stories. Just itself is that's the price range. So with that range, it's so difficult for some people, for
Mm-hmm.
some families. So that's the sad thing about the current medical model, right? So people rely on insurance. So, but you're trading your life for a cheaper price, right? So what? Okay, you can go to the traditional medical model, which will throw drugs at you generally without solving the why you're getting sick in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're sacrificing your real recovery and health for saving some money. So that's, is that what you want? And a lot of people have done that for years and they couldn't get enough help, right? And they've exhausted the possibilities. For example, this nurse I trained, who came to my training, who treated her mother, COPD, and this is a common story. COPD, getting on inhaler after inhaler, and catching pneumonia, just
Mm-hmm.
not functioning optimally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Having trouble going up and down the stairs, short of breath. So finally, she said, "Enough, mom. Let's try stem cells." So gave her one treatment. Ever since then, off all her inhalers. Now she
Wow.
can go out and fast walk. She got her life back. So okay, so you spend a few $1,000s. Do you think that's worth it? Like
Mm-hmm.
what is your life worth? Also, people think insurance. We need to get on insurance. Like maybe stem cell therapy, once it becomes FDA approved, then it's going to be on the insurance panel, and then it's going to be cheaper. Okay. Maybe you don't understand how medicine is done quite yet. There's a collaboration between the insurance company and the big pharma, right? The big
Mm-hmm.
pharma is beginning to get into stem cells. Um, Not very much yet, because right now stem cells is only FDA approved for two conditions. One is for hemo reconstitution, after they wipe out your immune system for autoimmune diseases or cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is for pediatric acute graft versus host disease. Very limited, right, in scope. So there are
Mm-hmm.
those two. But they're going to want to do more. However, if anyone wants to know how the system works, you can watch unnatural selection, which is gene
Mm-hmm.
therapy, right? Cutting edge gene therapy. Do you know how much it costs to get one single injection from that little vial for muscular dystrophy? So it costs that patient who was doing fundraising to get enough money to get that one injection is $750,000 for that one little injection. So, of course, he didn't really get much benefit. He got a lot of side effects. So that's something that I just, it's ironic, because when I give patient these stem cells, which is peanuts compared to what the pharma is charging,
Mm-hmm.
I know for sure it's going to enhance their health, even if we didn't solve the exact problem they came to me for. And that happened quite a bit. The patient said, well, the pain in that location is still there, but boy, my energy level is much better. I sleep so much better. I have, my skin looks better.
Mm-hmm.
So I know we can produce benefit, but if you think that once insurance companies um, is allowing something to come on board and something's FDA approved, and that's going to make the price go down, and you're waiting for that day, you're trading your life for that day when it's approved, that you could be again trading your life for this hope, because it costs about 2.1 billion dollars. This is a few years back. It's probably more expensive now. 5 years ago, it cost 2.1 billion dollars to take a drug to market. So if you
Wow.
don't think the drug companies
Wow.
are going to recoup that money from you, then you're naive. Yeah, so
Wow.
so that's kind of
Yeah.
that's number one barrier, is that people are balking at the cost,
Yeah.
but they don't realize what this give them. So when you look at the scheme of things, this is one of the best investments you can make.
Mm-hmm. And I think
So,
when people are working so hard and so desperate for money, and they're not thinking about the long term, they're not thinking about their health, they're thinking about how can I pay my bills tomorrow, and um, people need to start thinking about long term health, but we need to maybe empower them first to have a less stressful life for them to access this kind of information and be motivated by their health. Would you agree
yeah.
with that?
And I think the second barrier is that there's a lot of misinformation.
Mm-hmm.
People just don't know the truth. And I feel like I've been, talking until my face is blue, and these myths are still persisting. I was like,
Like
how
what?
can like stem cell therapy is illegal in the United States. Like that is can't be farther from the truth. And how can people still believe that? And I even have doctors who are still believing that. It's like this is unbelievable. Another myth is that,
Mm-hmm.
oh, they're using aborted babies. Oh my God, I've never known anybody. I don't even know where people can get aborted babies. It's illegal in this country. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot extract cells from aborted fetuses, and nobody's doing that. And even some doctor, like this prominent doctor, was talking just completely doesn't know the science. This doctor who owns a stem cell company is saying that, oh yeah, the mesenchymal stem cells is important, and then people, it's very different from embryonic stem cells, which came from
Mm.
aborted fetuses. I was like, oh
Ooh.
my God, you're a prominent figure in stem cell therapy, and you are giving wrong information. Embryonic stem cells came from embryo. It does not come from aborted fetuses. Embryonic stem cells come from cells at day 5 to 7 of after fertilization. So it's at an early stage when the cells is just nothing but a ball of cells. It's not a fetus. Excuse me. So I mean, the amount of misinformation, even from doctors, and doctors perpetuating. And this one lady, a nurse practitioner, also prominent figure. I mean, I don't look at social media that much, but once in a while I go on there to see what people say. And the times I actually look, it's like, what lady? you you were saying, oh, stem cells is amazing because it can go into your body and become any cells in your body. She doesn't understand how
Mm.
current stem cell therapy works. It's not because these cells go into your body and become the tissue that you're trying to get it to become. It's because it wakes up your own body,
Mm-hmm.
your own cells, to actually make new tissue. The research have shown over and over and over and over, proven that the new tissue growing did not come from the tissue that I transplanted into people. It came from yourself, because we're giving you the signal so your body
Wow.
can be woken up. Yeah, so there's so many myths. Yeah,
There's a lot of misinformation out there. How about let's talk about ketamine therapy? I know you brought that up. So there's a lot of
I
misinformation about that too. And if you don't mind talking about it, but there's prominent celebrities that have passed away from ketamine. So what is ketamine therapy and
Well,
what
if you
is?
used it not under medical supervision, you're always, there's a risk. The kind of ketamine therapy we do at our clinic is through IV infusion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Highly monitored, at a specific dose, very low dose. So people can always abuse a certain medication, but under supervision, there's never a case of addiction and dependence. Instead, it actually get people off addiction. So yeah, if you use anything that you use excessively, people drink alcohol all the time. That
Mm-hmm.
people die from alcohol. So if you don't do it properly, yes, you can die. You can die from food also. So you die from water. So when ketamine is used properly, it is a powerful modality. I think one, it can help treat um, medication resistant depression, like treatment
Mm-hmm.
resistant depression,
Mm-hmm.
or even not treatment resistant. It's incredible at taking people out of depression rapidly. Two, it can help things like anxiety and PTSD, very powerful in PTSD. I
Mm-hmm.
worked at the VA for 4 years during my psychiatry training. So I've talked with all these veterans from World War II to Iraqi vets. The PTSD is one of the hardest things to deal with, because it's almost like the brain is etched with this trauma. And no matter how you talk about it, how you throw all kinds of drugs at them, that loop is so strong that like this experience has taken a strong hold, that is really hard to break that cycle from stimulus to drastic full body sympathetic response. So ketamine actually has a chance of intercepting and rewire the brain while you're experiencing it. Because you're under ketamine, you can have a whole different experience and perception about the experience. And
Mm.
now your brain has a chance to rewire. So it's one of the most powerful tools for PTSD. And then it helps with migraines and chronic pain, very powerful, and addiction. So it's an incredible modality. And lastly, people may not talk about it very much, which is spiritual awakening.
Mm-hmm.
If you have never taken a peek out of this matrix, then you don't know if it's there, right? But if you've seen it with your eyes, then and you experienced deeply what it feels like, then you have a whole other idea about what life is about here. So that gives people perspective. I think it gives you growth. It makes you a fuller person because now you know more than what you knew before. You know more of the truth. So that's a whole other reason I think some people do this therapy, is to find out more that things that we couldn't tap into before from other ways. Maybe some people meditate, right? They go
Mm-hmm.
into a different realm and different experience and dimension. But some people can't break through, or some people don't meditate. But this gives people a chance to reach a whole other set of information.
Wow. So, what is the relation then between spirituality and health? Do you want to expand more on that?
I think one day, medical doctors and what they're trained on, the spiritual aspects and come into medical education. Right now is taboo. I remember it's very much taboo when I was in medical school. Talking about spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
beliefs, religion. That's we just respect everybody's religion. That's all we say. That's a subject we should not talk about. We shouldn't talk about our own beliefs, and because that's considered not scientific. But I think as science is going to realize how limited its own measurement tools are. It doesn't have the ability to understand uh, certain realities. Just because you can't measure it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Electricity has always existed. Just because you didn't know how to measure it, you didn't think it existed. And then we realized, oh, it exists. Now everyone knows, even though you can't see it, can feel a magnetic wave. How do you get your cell phone service, right? You can't see it, but it's there. So now we can measure it. So it's about updating our measurements, our ability to understand and to have a way of not quantifying, but of somehow a way of understanding the other side. So is gonna come, and that is gonna bring about a tremendous liberation in how we can treat the body, because we may be so limited on the chemical and physical level, but I think in the future we can do so much more on the quantum level, and that is really the exciting new way of doing medicine. I think we're already starting. There are practitioners who are already doing that. Of course, traditional healers have been doing that for thousands of
Mm-hmm.
years, but we can bring that actually into medicine. So eventually the two are going to merge, and doctors are going to be real healers. Yeah.
Wow.
Um, I kind of wanted to go back to stem cells because I wanted to understand a bit more about. So we talked about like spiritual healing and on the ketamine side, but are stem cells able to, alter your mental perception in any way where it can, heal you mentally from like maybe depression, anxiety, um, or maybe even give you spiritual awakening of any kind?
I wish I wish you could, but I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
Not at the current state of how we're doing it. When we give people stem cells, we're giving them a minuscule amount, a number of cells. Um, so if you think of the amount of stem cells we're giving to people, we don't give that many. With the form of stem cell therapy we perform in the United States, because we if you're doing it right, you should not be using expanded stem cells. So if you expand the cells, you can get a huge number, but still, that's only in the hundreds of millions of cells. The most 1 billion. I've heard of people doing that, but at our clinic, we're able to produce incredible results with 20 million, 30, 40, 50, 60 million, and that's about it, right? So even if someone is getting 300 million cells, our body has 37 trillion cells. So that's trillion, right? Uh,
Wow.
Yeah.
so you can imagine putting a wave of cells that possibly has a different makeup of DNA, because I'm a proponent of using umbilical cord derived stem cells, and that's from healthy live births, not
Mm-hmm.
from aborted fetuses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Babies are born and then they're fine, and these tissue used to be thrown in the trash. Now we can utilize them to provide healing. And even if you're giving 300 million cells, is a drop in the bucket of what's in your body. And also, when you activate the cells, majority of them will do the work and die, because just like any cells in the body, there's a trajectory. Nothing lives forever. So even if they're stem cells, the stem cells, when they go into your body, they fight your inflammation. Your inflammation is also toxic to the cells, not only to your own cells, but to the cells that I give to people. So it can kill those cells off. And the cells also has its own lifespan, and nothing lives forever, just like your stem cells. Even if, okay, the beauty about stem cells is that it has asymmetrical division. So it will make a copy of itself. So it always has a copy of itself.
Mm-hmm.
And then it will make a copy that's just a little different, that's gaining a little bit more function. So that's how it preserves its own population, right? It will continue to provide repair and healing and regeneration as you do damages to yourself by living life. And then it will always give an offspring that will perform function, because just the way it is, even though as powerful as they are, they don't do much. They can't perform work. So you need them to differentiate to gain function so they can do work. However, you think that because they always make a copy of itself, then you're always going to have the same amount of stem cells, right? From you were born to you die? Very wrong, because you have an attrition rate. These things don't live forever.
Mm-hmm.
So between the time that you were born to the time you're a teenager, the amount of stem cells, as far as the ratio of the stem cells to the total number of cells in your body, is only 1/10. So the baby, doing an operation on a baby and looking at how the scar repairs is very different from doing an operation on a teenager, right? Because when you're a teenager, your regenerative potentials have gone down significantly, right? You have 1/10 of the stem
Yeah.
cells that you had when you were a baby. When you reach your 40s, you have 1/4 of the stem cells you had when you were a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in your 80s, you have 1/5 the number of stem cells as you had when you were in your 40s. So you can see it drops off like a cliff. So even if they're all in your body, there is a rate of attrition. There's a rate of death and loss. So when I put cells into the human body, something that I'm giving you exogenously, right? Something from the outside, they also have a trajectory of death. Most of them will die. So very, very few actually stay in the body. So you can imagine that few cells that may actually stay in your body. First of all, if they're very, very different from your DNA, and they may express surface markers that your body doesn't like. Your body may get rid of them if they try to express all these markers. But even if the body adjusts, sometimes it does, just like liver organ transplants, right? You can put one person's organ
Mhm.
to another, even though these are two different people, the cells can survive, that organ can survive. So there's a chance the cells can stay in the body, even if it's not exactly the same as the human body. But the number of the cells that actually stay are so minuscule that it's not really going to change your psyche, change your
Mm-hmm.
makeup. Yeah, it just is not going to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
I,
as far as stem cell therapy for mental health issues, there just hasn't been enough evidence. I think
mm,
because so much of depression, anxiety, and even even PTSD and cognitive decline have a lot to do with inflammation, or addiction has to do with inflammation
Mm-hmm.
of the brain. Stem cell therapy can definitely reduce the inflammation of the brain. In that sense, it should be able to help. There's some better evidence about addiction, especially alcohol addiction,
Mm-hmm.
showing that stem cell therapy drastically decreases these are animal studies, decreases alcohol
Mhm.
intake, and even decrease relapse like behavior. So after you strip them
Okay.
from alcohol access and then you reintroduce alcohol, it's drastic. I think it's like they have 80% less of the behavior of going back to drinking alcohol. So it's a huge implication when it comes to addiction treatment. But the other ones, there hasn't been enough studies, but doesn't mean that
Okay.
it won't help.
Wow.
And when it comes to, for example, let's say viruses or cancers or even STDs, though, can those be reversed or healed or cured through stem cell research? So, as for example, let's say
Okay.
HIV or
Doctors are
also
really
cancer.
scared of those words when you start to use the word cure and heal. But because why? Because that borders on making claims. So all the doctors are really afraid of
Mm,
making any claims when there's no FDA approval. So, but that aside, has there been evidence of stem cell therapy helping conditions like that? Yes, absolutely. There's one study I presented looking at treatment-resistant HIV
Mm-hmm.
patients,
okay.
and it even helped those people decrease viral load
Wow.
and yeah, doing a lot better. So yes, it can help people fight infections because it does help you help your immune system to be more robust. But also stem cells like these mesenchymal stem cells can actually secrete antimicrobial peptides, directly killing microbes. So all those are possible. Just one caveat: um, these mesenchymal stem cells have receptors that somehow the viruses can dock on. So this is very strange, right? Irony of nature. And they can even, not only they can be selectively destroyed by these viruses, but they can also become a site of reservoir. So they could be a place to harbor these microbes. So there's a double-edged sword. So for herpes
Mhm.
family viruses, that's more prominent. So that's something if a patient did not respond to stem cell therapy, that's a place to look into. Is there, do you harbor certain microbes that selectively attack the cells that I'm putting in your body? So that's just a side note.
Would they be, if they're harbored inside the body, would they be safe or would they have to be removed? Like, what would
Oh,
you do
we
in that
all have
situation?
microbes in our body, and it's a constant, battle. So do they need to be removed? It'd be nice if they're removed, but um, I doubt there's any human being that's free of pathogens in the body. Yeah, so it'd be nice to remove all of them,
Yeah.
but that could be a
Okay.
battle.
Okay. Fair.
What about like
You could
conditions?
take antiviral treatments for sure, and then you can do all kinds of other. There's a lot of integrative medicine who are doing different attacks on these microbes or parasites. So there are ways to help reduce them. Yes.
Uh,
It's like you
I,
have an answer for everything, by the way. I just wanted to add that.
If you call those answers, I have a thought.
what are your thoughts on Alzheimer's then, and how can stem? Is there any evidence
Yeah,
for stem cells?
Alzheimer's, there are different schools of thought as well. And there are people who do believe that there's huge viral origin of these neurodegenerative conditions, all of them. So if you attack these potential viral infections, you could relieve a lot of symptoms. So that's one thought. Of course, the other school of thought is that they're not mutually exclusive. So some people believe Alzheimer's is, type 3 diabetes. There are people who have said that. So it's a form of metabolic disease, inflammation, metabolic derangement in a sense that caused brain deterioration and inflammation. So then you need to look at how you can remove these type of metabolic disorders. Then that's the whole shebang of integrated medicine. So you need to look at your nutrition. Are you
Mm-hmm.
getting adequate vitamins and minerals and antioxidants? You look at your hormone balance. You look at your microbiome. Do you have, you lack good bacteria that's supposed to help us thrive, and harbor bad ones that's causing you harm all the time? Do you, are you there are other, as far as energy, there are a lot of things. Are you getting enough sunlight? Are you grounding? Are you getting rid of your, as far as the discharging of the electrons? And all these are aspects of health that people have found tremendous help for, because one person may be doing grounding every day and all their problems went away. The other person, it may take hormone replacement. So I have to individualize to see what
Right.
each person, what they need. Yeah, that's the web, right? We're going to the web.
Mm-hmm.
Where at what points on the web are there problems?
Wow. Um, I have another question about like Eastern cultures and what we can learn from them about cold and flu and respiratory diseases. From what I understand, that Eastern cultures are a lot healthier than us in America when it comes to cold and flu. And is that true? Is that a myth? Or what are the habits that people do in a general population to stay healthier?
I I haven't looked into that specifically. People do get sick everywhere, but I think as a population, I think America, the longevity is not doing that great,
Mm-hmm.
compared to the world, even though we spent the most amount of money on healthcare, right? So
Right.
now you get an understanding, like, where did the money go? What it's doing? So um, I think Eastern cultures do have a healthier diet with more emphasis on different vegetables, more
Mm,
diverse type of food, um, and less junk, all the additives, preservatives, and fried stuff that we put into food to manipulate taste and to really to get sales. So I think the overall diet is healthier,
mm-hmm.
and there may be more acceptance on optimization with different methods, including acupuncture and herbs,
Mm-hmm.
and that's permeated into the culture, like Indian culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
If something's not going right, the family may cook different kinds of food to change the constitution and change the balance, toning the balance of the body. Same thing with Chinese, and we know what kind of food can do what, for the body. So there may be times that we eat more of a particular type. Um, but yeah, I think maybe from those situations that it's going to be better. And also, I don't think we are um, as heavily medicated as the Western culture,
Mm-hmm.
or as heavily vaccinated. So all those things could be, having an effect on the body. That's, we're just beginning to know more about what the vaccinations do. That I think America has excessive vaccination. Um, and what are they doing? And we know there are components in the vaccines that are not so good. So if you've been subjected to it since you were born, um, for decades, what is that going to do to your system? So all those things need to be looked at.
I'm curious, now that we're talking about vaccines, so
Oh, did I just open up a
obviously
can of
there's
worms?
potentially,
Did we
maybe,
scratch that
No,
part?
if you wanted to, but
but
we've done a lot of conversations
I'm
actually
just
about this
kidding.
topic.
I don't avoid any subject really, but
We've
yeah,
interviewed
I,
tons
I
of
speak
experts
I just
about
speak
this
truth,
topic.
truth to me, right? What I
Mm-hmm.
know, no one knows
mhm,
the absolute truth, but I can give my opinion based on the knowledge that I have, right? But no one has monopoly on it. So, this is why freedom of speech is important. This is why I
Mm-hmm.
came to America, for
Mm-hmm.
freedom of speech. But to my
mhm.
surprise,
No, we're on board. Yeah.
Yeah.
I.
So what's the question?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, now it's interesting now that I do want to hear your opinion on it. So maybe you can share your opinion and then potentially answer the question of um, from a health basis, stem cell therapy, since autism is a type of inflammation in the brain. Can that be treated via stem cell therapy by any chance?
Ooh.
Because we mentioned how stem cell therapy can also reduce
I'll give
inflammation
you a
in certain areas of the
story
body.
of how I actually encountered stem cell therapy. It was on a bus with a group of doctors because we were just doing, so I was getting a certification, board certification for addiction medicine. And sitting
Hmm.
next to me was this doctor who was doing something called anti-aging medicine, which I never heard of. And he was an anesthesiologist. And he said, yeah, I do stem cell therapy. I was like, what? You are giving it to people? And he said, yeah, we use umbilical cord stem cells.
Wow.
And I said, I thought people are still studying it. So this is 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Just imagine me as a doctor. So not that stem cell therapy had not been around, but because I was in a bubble. So there's no way, no
Hmm.
reason for me to know anything about it. So I spoke like a true ignorant person. And I said, I thought they're still studying it in the lab. And he said, no, we're using it. And I treated this autistic kid. And let me show you what the teacher said. So he pulled out his phone and showed me like 40 different things the teacher noticed. The teacher had no idea this kid got stem cell treatment. And the teacher noticed these changes in the child and sent this critique on the child to the parent. The parent sent it to this doctor. So that's a shocker, right? Better eye contact, less procrastination, being able to play with kids better, less temper tantrums, less motor abnormalities. So all these changes that the teacher were recognizing, and I was blown away because I was a psychiatrist. There was a reason that I did not go into child psychiatry because I was so dismayed by the state of therapy for autistic kids.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought we are treating these people like little kids. We're just trying to shut them up because they're so disruptive, and we couldn't make fundamental differences in them. So we're just trying to sedate them and make them just a little bit calmer so they're not hurting anybody or hurting themselves. And that was not satisfying because I
Mm-hmm.
want healing, right? We want real repair, recovery. So that's why I did not go into child psychiatry. So, because I knew how helpless the field was
Mm-hmm.
at that point. And then sitting next to me, this anesthesiologist who did not study autism, and and he gave one IV infusion that probably took him less than an hour, and then he is within months. The kid is like a new kid. He's able to make all these differences in this child when I, as a psychiatrist, it may take me years and I may not get there. So then, if you're curious as a doctor, as a healer, then you will be asking yourself, what the hell are in these cells? Like,
Yeah.
what are these cells? I need to understand what these cells are. What are they doing in the human body? So that's what got me into stem cell therapy. So to answer your question about autism, yeah, that's my entry point into stem cell therapy. And then since then, I've treated, quite a number of stem cell autistic kids, and to the point now we have a pediatrician on staff, and she focuses a lot on autistic children. And I actually have a lecture which I gave in Brazil at a very large autism conference about stem cell therapy and autism. And the lecture, I ended up putting it online. So if people want to look up, it's just autism and stem cell therapy. So there's, it's not a lot of clinical research, but definitely some showing benefit. And there's a reason why they could be beneficial. And clinically, I've seen really good results. So yeah, so that's what. But are we reversing it completely? No, it's multifactorial. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot going on, and some damages are done. But can we allow the person to recover to a significant degree, to be highly functional in society? Yes, that there's definitely a chance of bringing that about. But can we reverse everything? I think that's pretty difficult.
Wow. That's kind of mind blowing because like that's a major like especially now with the rapid um not necessarily growth, but now the diagnosis of all of these children that do have autism,
Yeah,
the
skyrocketing.
awareness on it as well. Yeah, it's insane that how high the numbers have reached, and to
Yeah,
find out that
it's
there
pretty
is
sad.
that stem cell
Pretty
research can just, the stem cell
sad.
treatment can just, completely cure them. Well, not completely cure
Not
them,
Well,
but
cure
not
them.
completely
Not
cured, but
take
it's a
that back,
good
Sid.
yeah, yeah, I want to be
yeah.
careful.
What's
It's a good thing I'm not
beautiful,
an MD,
I've always
so
been
the,
I've always been moved by these parents who bring the kids to me. So by the time a parent have searched everywhere and found me, these are some of the most amazing parents because they are looking for anything
Hmm.
that can help their child. So not all the parents have that kind of dedication, but there are certainly some amazing, amazing, beautiful parents who, and they tell me, I'm not looking for complete healing reversal. If my child can just function a little better, any progress is fine. And yeah, most of the time they see progress, which is, I've seen kids going from incontinent to being able to control their bowel movements and being
Wow.
able to tell the parent, right, from nonverbal to actually tell the parent, what is it, the potty. Yeah. So the child was
Hmm.
able to say potty, tell the parent and be able to start being able to count, right? To start learning,
hmm
to say thank you, to have eye contact and human connection. Yeah. So all these things are major milestones.
Of course. And for those family, all those things are such big wins.
Very
Um,
big.
I
Yeah.
wanna. My last question for you is: so women live longer than men, and in the field of longevity, women are the become the oldest people, and versus men die a lot younger. So what can men learn from women? So we can do better.
What can you learn from women? I think, I wonder because women are more communal, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're always chatting up with each other. I think that we're loading our stress,
Mm-hmm.
and then that connection, that ability to feel support from another human. I think that's very helpful. I mean, that's why. Well, you all know men, they die early if they
Mm-hmm.
don't have a companion, right? But what I heard is that reverse is true for women. So
Mm-hmm.
they actually live longer without a man. You guys are a problem. We love you guys, but boy, how come you
We're-
shorten our lives?
I know. I'm
I think
trying
the
to
same.
learn.
It's, I think both sides say the same about the other. So it's
Okay,
like a
all
very
right.
controversial debate there. It's kind of hard to pinpoint the exact
Yeah,
that's
right.
true.
But I think, communicate with others,
Mm-hmm.
relying on more social network, I think can help tremendously. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Hmm.
Side, anything else on your end?
Um, I think that's a good point. Stop there. This is just like great advice. Dr. Joy Kong, thank you so much for sharing all this insight and sh like sharing this wealth of knowledge. And it's
Oh,
it's
you're
very
so welcome.
inspiring the amount of energy that you have as well, and how the
Oh,
passion that you have for this
thank you.
topic. It's so
Yeah.
I'm hoping if there's any final words that you want to say as well or advice that you want to share with our audience.
Yeah, I kind of want people to recognize just how lucky they are that you're living in this time and age. You actually have access to something that's as close to fountain of youth as we have come. So these
Hmm
stem cells are pretty close. And that has been sought after by kings and queens throughout
Mm-hmm.
history, and no one found it. So you are
Sure.
actually living at a time that is available. So it will be unfortunate if you're not taking advantage of it. So that's something I want people to know. And also, yeah, probably just educate yourself, know what you're doing. And also don't trust everybody because, as I've seen, doctors and practitioners are giving out wrong information. So really try to figure out a good source. So if you want to learn about stem cell therapy, want to take a deep dive, I gave so much information on YouTube. So I just
Mm-hmm.
put out video after video just to educate people so they understand what they're getting and all the nuances about stem cell therapy. So take a deep dive, on my YouTube channel, Joy Kong MD. But take advantage of it, because and please don't, if you haven't tried stem cell therapy, please don't take out any body parts of yours. I some people are so angry that doctors talk them into joint replacement, right? And there's no way back. Now you've got a foreign body in your body when there's a chance that it can be reversed. For example, just one thing, one study I want to share. This one study had people who had necrosis, arthritis of knee joints, and because from steroid use, so it's bilateral, so two sides are equally problematic, and they all qualify for knee replacement. So what did the doctors do? They did an experiment, brilliant experiment. 30 patients, 60 knees, right? So they divided the knees half and half within each person. One knee got replaced, the other knee got injected with stem cells, and they followed them, I think, for like 10 years. And what happened is that out of the 30 knees that were replaced, 6 needed revision surgery. So things didn't go right. You had to go back in there, cut the person open again, and fix it. But out of the 30 knees that got stem cell treatments, only 1 actually needed knee replacement after all. So just remember that. So if you are trying to take off your body part, think of something that can reserve and save it first. I've saved someone of the testicles because his urologist wanted to take it out. So, but try, give this form of therapy a try.
I mean, that's great. Yeah, definitely look at all of the treatments. Guys, thank you for watching another
Thank
episode
you.
of
We're
A2 the Show,
out.
and we'll see you next time. See you guys.